Greetings, Michael Didier here. We are continuing our adventure in Torah. We saw last week the sins of Sodom, Gomorrah, and the sister cities, Admah, Zeboim, and it seems to me that Zoar, Bela was its previous name, also was a participant in some of these wicked things that they had done. Lot, at the end, the last moment we're going to see today, saves Zoar. Wow. But wait till you see what happens after he saves Zoar. Ooh, we have lots of interesting things to talk about today. I want to begin by going through Yasher to kind of relate the things that we had seen the week before. It's always good to understand this in the context of the whole Torah, and especially in the context of what we've already covered in Torah, because there are so many things that will change our life if we'll just look and see how one thing relates to the other. Remember, we understand the mystery. How? Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. Well, let's look at the big picture for a moment. Remember, we finished 17 when Yehovah told Abram in a vision that the promised child was going to be born the following year on the Moed. And then in 18, 3 days later, the vision was affirmed, I think is a good word to say, affirmed by the messengers who came to see Abram while he was sitting at the door of his tent in the heat of the day because of the pain of his flesh. He'd circumcised himself 3 days later. Oh my gosh, here's a man that circumcised himself based on a vision that he received from Yehovah. That, my friends, is what faith is all about. What does it say? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. What was his substance? What was his evidence? How about the fact that he circumcised himself at 99 years old, his son at 13 years old, and all the men of his household? Probably close at this time, probably close to 600 to 1,000 men. Wow, that is faith. And now, 3 days later, here comes 3 men. Remember, we said they were Enoshim. 3 men, they get called angels. They're messengers. You know, Daniel saw an angel in a vision. Gabriel came to him. But if they have flesh, I don't think they're angels. I think they're men, messengers sent by Yehovah to teach his people, to exhort his people. When Abram saw him, remember there's 3 men, but he called him Adonai, singular. What's up with that? He called him Adonai twice, at least twice, in Genesis 18, which is where they showed up. Talking about the 3 men, calling him Adonai. How come he didn't call him Adonim? He called him Adonai, my master. It says my Lord. I don't like that. We got to go back to my master. It gets confusing because we got the Lord, my Lord, we can't even tell who we're talking about half the time. But we're talking to Adonai, my master. How come he didn't say Adonim? You know what? It came to me this week. Why didn't he say Adonim? He said Adonai. I think he recognized them. Remember, these are men. He's sitting in the door of his tent. 3 men come walking up. What? I know those guys. He goes running to them, bows down to the ground. Adonai, come to my house. Do you think he does that for everybody that comes wandering by his camp? No, he knew this man. We are going to see it again today in Genesis when these 2 men, again, I think it's going to be Shem and Eber, that are coming into the city of Sodom to see. Remember, they're the witnesses sent to see if the wickedness is really going on there. And if not, I will know. Again, Lot sitting in the gate of the city. And he sees these men coming. And he goes to them and he bows down to the ground. He knows these guys. Come into my house. Do you think he does that for everybody that comes to the city? What's different between these 2 men? What was different between the 3 men that Abram saw? I guess he was Abraham at that point. No, these men were led by the Melchizedek. Remember the Melchizedek, the king of Shalem? In Yasher, it called him the Adonizek, the king of Yahu Shalam. Oh my goodness. Would you bow down to the Adonizek, the master of righteousness, if he came walking into your camp? Oh, my master! Yeah, you would. You treat him with great respect. I want to show you something. We saw the sins of Sodom last week. Let's just remind ourselves about these sins. Remember, we were contrasting the time of life with Ishtar, the spring and the winter equinox, the summer, or what would be the summer and here, I've got it here. Let me just do this. Summer and winter solstice. There we go. The spring and autumn equinox. They are doing the spring equinox right now. Talking about these 5 wicked cities. And what did they do? Do you remember? They went into the grove, the verdant valley, and they let men take their wives, other men take their wives and their daughters, their virgin daughters. And each man saw his woman and his daughter in the hands of his neighbor and did not say a word. They did it 4 times a year. Oh my goodness. Talk about wickedness. What are we breaking? We're breaking the, what is that? The 7th commandment, I think, is the one on adultery. We're breaking the 1st commandment because we're supposed to be doing what? Worshiping Yehovah. Instead, we're worshiping Ishtar. And instead of talking about breaking the 2nd commandment, remember bowing down to idols, what are they worshiping? The sun, the moon. No, there's more going on. They're breaking many of Yehovah's commandments. We saw as we went through this portion in Yasher about all the things that these people did. The man with the diverse cloak. Remember, he had a mantle of diverse colors. And how that man stole it from him. They went to the judge, and there was all kinds of people who were being stolen. Then we saw there was people that are being starved in the city. And finally, it got to the point where we were talking about the shedding of blood. Remember, Eliezer went to help the man who got his clothes stolen? And the man hit him with a rock. And the judge said, well, that's what we do, the letting of blood. You owe him money for that. Well, remember what happened. Eliezer finally hit the judge with a stone and said, collect it from him. You pay him. Well, it ended with this dear woman. Actually, it was a couple women who were killed. This one happened to be Peltith. The daughter, one of the many daughters, apparently Lot had at least 5 daughters, no sons. Not until later, we'll see that today. She helped a man, kept him alive by sneaking him bread every day. And in the end, it says right here, it says the 3 men went out to the place where they were in a place which they were concealed, and they seized Peltith and took her and brought her to the judges. What did they do? It says, and the people of Sodom and Gomorrah assembled and kindled a fire in the streets of the city, and they took the woman and cast her into the fire, and she was burned to ashes. This is the daughter of Lot. And finally, there was yet another woman who was giving somebody a drink of water. All she did was help a stranger, brought him some bread, brought him some water. And she was covered with honey and stung to death. Okay, this is where we left off. But this is just the beginning. Do you remember we were talking about Adonizek, the king of Yahu Shalam? The king of Yahu Shalam. What did that mean? You know what? I taught it to you. But I had to look it up this morning because I forgot what Yahu Shalam means. Do you remember? Yahu Shalam. You know, you see Jerusalem, but you read Jerusalem. But it's Yahu Shalam. We're talking about a people, not a city, practically every time. What does Yahu Shalam mean? Well, again, I had to look it up this morning. Here's what I saw. Here it is. Yahu Shalam, they shall lead peacefully. These are men who, we're talking about Ezra men now. Remember, Yahu Shalam isn't Ger. It's the Ger who dwell with them. But we're talking about Ezra men. They shall lead peacefully. They're the ones who lead in their gates. They lead their women. They lead their children. They lead their male and female servants. They lead the Ger who dwells with them. They lead peacefully. Yahu. They lead. Shalem. Peace. But now, look what it says here. I'm going to go to the beginning of Ezekiel 16. Look what it says here. Again, the word of Yehovah came to me saying, Son of man, cause Yahu Shalam to know her abominations. And say, here's what you're going to say to them. Thus says my master, Yehovah, to Yahu Shalam. They shall lead peacefully. He says, your birth and your nativity are from the land of Canaan. Do you think that's a compliment? No, no, no. You can't have such a terrible thing said about you. You're supposed to be righteous people, and your birth and your nativity, where you were raised up. Your birth and your nativity are from the land of Canaan. Your father was an Amorite. Your mother a Hittite. Oh man. As for your nativity, on the day you were born, your navel cord was not cut, nor were you washed in water to cleanse you. You were not rubbed with salt, nor wrapped in swaddling cloths. Talking about Yahu Shalam, they're supposed to be the called out people, the Ezra men. Your birth and your nativity are from the land of Canaan. Well, Isaiah says exactly the same thing. Look at this. I'm going to go to Isaiah 57. No, Isaiah 47. Here it is right here, top of the page. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. He's talking about Israel's seed, and he's calling them the virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground without a throne, O daughter of the Chaldees. What's he saying? Virgin daughter of Babylon. He's saying you've never been mine. You've always belonged to Babylon. And this is where the world is right now, you guys. This is where the supposed called out people of Yehovah are right now. For shame. Serving in the kingdoms of men. Virgin daughters of Babylon. You're not his. Look at what he ends with. He says at the bottom here, I'm going to highlight it for you so you can see it. He says, I will not arbitrate with an Adam. An Adam. Doesn't call him an Ish. He calls him an Adam. A man of the flesh. Well, this is where we're going today. You know what? What we're going to see today is going to happen in these last days to the whole world. Yahu Shalam. Let's go back to 16. I want to continue showing you who we're talking about here. Let's move down the page. This is the same chapter that says, Yahu Shalam to know, Son of Man, cause Yahu Shalam to know her abominations. Your birth and your nativity are in the land of Canaan. Your father was an Amorite. Your mother was a Hittite. An Amorite is a son of Canaan. A Hittite is not a son of Canaan. She comes from another country. But look what it says down here. Still talking about Yahu Shalam. You built your high places on the head of every road. You made your beauty to be abhorred. You offered yourself to everyone who passed by and multiplied your acts of harlotry. How do we commit harlotry? How about by voting? How about by going to these places of worship? Corporations of the state run by agents, pastors, agents for the state who marry you in state jurisdictional authority. And now, by the authority of the state of Washington, I now pronounce you man and wife. The authority of the state of Washington. Do you hear the harlotry? This is what we're talking about. Wickedness. You have committed harlotry with the Egyptians, your very fleshly neighbors, and increased your acts of harlotry to provoke me to anger. Oh my goodness. How degenerate is your heart. He's talking to Yahu Shalam. This is the prophets. He says, you are an adulterous wife who takes strangers instead of her husband, Yehovah. He's talking to men. not ladies. Men make payment to all harlots, but you make your payments to your lovers. Yes, you pay your attorneys. You pay for your birth certificates, or not your birth certificate, your driver's license, your vendor's license, your health permits, your business license. You pay permits for all those. You pay for your harlotry. Oh my gosh, we are blind to what we're doing. Wow, he goes on. Look what he says down here. He says, as I live, says my master Yehovah, neither your sister Sodom. Oh my gosh. He's talking to Yahu Shalam, and he's calling Sodom your sister. And the other cities, Sodom's daughters. Neither your sister Sodom nor her daughters have done as you and your daughters have done. Look, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom. She and her daughter, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, had pride, fullness of food, abundance of idleness. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. They were haughty and committed abominations before me. Yeah, they served other Elohim. They worshipped other gods. Well, same thing. Lawmakers and judges. He said Samaria. Here he goes on. He says, Samaria did not commit half of your sins, but you have multiplied your abominations more than they, and have justified your sister by all the abominations which you have done. Folks, Yehovah is coming to take care of this world. He's not going to put up with it much longer. Time is coming to an end, and now the light is going into the world for everybody to see. Will you love the light more than the darkness? Most won't. Most are going to prefer the darkness because it's what they know. The light demands too much of them. Well, let's get started with what we got to do today. I want to go to Genesis 19. Our goal is to get through Genesis 19 today, and if we can, I would like to finish the same subject matter in Yasher. Let's begin with Genesis 19. It says, now the two messengers came to Sodom in the evening. This is the evening of the same day. The same day, I believe, that we are celebrating the Passover, the time of life, because we're talking about the Moed. I will come to you at the Moed. And he did, in the shape of his Shalach, Shem, Eber, and probably one other man. It says, now the two messengers came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. But Lot saw them, or when Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed himself with his face toward the ground. Bowed himself with his face toward the ground? Do you think he maybe knows these guys? This is the same thing that Abraham did, isn't it? Bowed his face with his head to the ground. Let me read you my notes here. It says, and the two messengers came to Sodom. Okay, I guess this is my translation on this. And came to Sodom at the evening, and Lot sat in the gate. And he saw them, and Lot rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. I put, did Lot bow down with his face to the ground for every stranger who came to the city? Come on, let's think about this. Does that even make sense? He seems to know and respect these men, these Enoshim. They're not angels, they're messengers. Shalakim, sent from Yehovah. Well, here, I guess I've got it right here. They are messengers. Yehovah Shalakim, sent ones. And if there's a shadow picture of the two witnesses in Torah, this is it. Think about that. I don't know why I didn't make the connection when I read it for my whole life. I read about the two witnesses, the two witnesses, the two witnesses. Why is it I never realized they're witnesses? Duh! Is that their name? The Smiths? No, they're the two witnesses. Why are they witnesses? Because Yehovah sent them to find out whether what he heard was going on in Sodom was true or not. That's what witnesses do, isn't it? Yehovah will not, let me move this up. Yehovah will not choose just any man to be a witness. Do you think he's going to use my neighbor next door? How about some of these messianic teachers that don't even know what an Ezra and a Ger is? How about some of these messianic teachers that have never left the kingdom of their birth and are still encouraging others to follow the law of the land? Do you think he's going to use them as his witnesses? No, they lack understanding. He's going to choose who? Somebody who knows what the difference between light and darkness is, evil and good, bitter and sweet. We don't know it. Most of us. We don't know. These teachers, they don't know the difference between the role of a man and the role of a woman in Yehovah's kingdom. Living according to his created purpose. Most of them are still telling ladies to leave their man. Oh my gosh, the wickedness that these men are doing. What does he say? Woe to you shepherds who destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture. You've scattered my sheep, driven them away and not attended to them. Behold, I will attend to you according to the wickedness of your doings. Yahu Shalam. Yes, you're going to be destroyed. Here, this is their mission, right here. And Yehovah said, because of the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grave, I will go down now and see whether they have done according to the outcry against it that has come to me, to my ear. And if not, I will know. So these are witnesses. Who is Yehovah going to use in these last days? Be interesting to see, won't it? Look what he says about witnesses. Whoever is deserving of death shall be put to death on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. He shall not be put to death on the testimony of 1 witness. You gotta have 2. He said 2. The hands of the witnesses shall be the first against them to put him to death. Hear that? The witnesses are going to be the ones who put this man to death. And afterwards the hands of all the people. So you shall put away the evil from among you. 1 witness. Here it is again. This is in Deuteronomy 19. 1 witness shall not rise against, what does it say? A woman? No, 1 witness shall not rise against an ish. concerning any iniquity or any sin which he commits. It's about the men. Well, that's part of a whole nother story. In one of my articles, I wrote Unequally Yoked. I said the sin is on him. It's not about the woman keeping the commandments of Yehovah. It's about the man keeping the commandments of Yehovah. Obey your man. The sin is on him. One witness shall not rise against an ish concerning any iniquity or any sin that he commits. By the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, the matter shall be established. These men coming to Sodom, and Lot sees them the same day. They just left Abraham, and now they're getting here to Sodom. Verse 2. And he said, "Hear now, my Lord." This says lords. Again, the translators take liberties. You know what? Let's learn not to take liberties with Yehovah's word. In Genesis 18, they said, "Lord, my Lord." Now they say, "My lords." Remember, we're talking about master, my master. Okay, this doesn't have a plural attached to it. There's the word right here. It's Adonai, Adonai, right there. My master. Well, you know what? I was tempted, and I said it last week. How come they didn't say Adonim? This is where it started to come to me this week. He's not addressing the men. He's addressing the leader of the men. Shem is his Adon, his master, the Adonizedek, the Melchizedek. That's who we're talking about. And he calls him my master. Lot calls him my master. Lot knows Shem. He's known Shem since he was like 43 years old. Maybe before that, we don't know for sure. But we know that he did know Shem because when they left Lot went with Shem and Eber and Abram and Nahor and the group. He knows them, known them for a long time. I put, if this is Shem and Eber, Lot may be addressing the leader and the senior member of the two. Wouldn't that make perfect sense that he would call the Melchizedek, the Adonizedek, my Adonai? The head man in Yehovah's kingdom. The invisible kingdom, yes, but just as tangible as it's ever going to be. Lot is going to do what his master says. Watch what happens in this chapter. He tells him to leave. Do you think if he would have stayed in Sodom, he would have been killed in Sodom? Duh. Yeah. And he said, "Hear now, my Adonai, my Adon. Hear now, Adonai. Please turn in to your servant's house." Is he the servant of any passerby that goes through this town? No, of course not. Please turn into your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way. And they said, no, but we will spend the night in the open square. Well, Lot knows what's been going on today. They've been giving their women and their virgin daughters to the men of the city. They've been carousing all day long in honor of Ishtar. And they're not satisfied yet. He knows what's coming because it only gets worse. Now they're interested in taking men instead of women. So Lot's not going to let them sleep in the square, especially on Passover. Remember, on Passover, you don't even go out of your house. You stay in your house. Well, let's watch what's happening. Now we can go to 3. It says, but he insisted strongly, so they turned in to him and entered his house. Then he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Unleavened bread! He gave them unleavened bread, made them a feast, baked them unleavened bread. You know what? There's precedence here for the destruction of Sodom. Sodom is a shadow picture of what's going to happen in the last days. They're eating unleavened bread. How many people make unleavened bread and say, hey, I just made unleavened bread. Come over and share a batch with me. No, that's not the nice bread. The nice bread is the stuff that's raised. No, this is unleavened bread he's making for these guys. I think the 2 messengers knew who was righteous by seeing who kept the Passover. Would that make sense? The one day a year that Yehovah sets apart is the one day a year that they're worshiping Ishtar. We call her Easter now. We call it our Easter sunrise service. My goodness, we're so stupid. The 2 messengers knew who was righteous by seeing who kept Passover, just like the angel of death in Egypt. The second time it happened. No, the third time it happened. It says Egypt was brought to her knees on Passover. Is it possible that Lot brought the 2 messengers into his home on Passover evening? I think it is. Think about this. When Yehovah destroyed the world the first time, what date did he destroy it on? Do you remember what time it was that the floods came? It was the 17th day of the 2nd month. What happens on the 14th day of the 2nd month? It would be a second Passover, wouldn't it? A second time of life. Is it possible that if someone would have left the kingdom of their birth, joined themselves to Noah, and kept the Passover, the time of life, that they may have been allowed on the ark? I think it is. I think it's a shadow picture of what's going to happen in the last days. As in the days of Noah, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. We're told in Matthew, I think 24. Not that I hang my hat on Matthew 24 by any means, but there's truth in the Gospels that aren't Gospels at all. What's the good news? The good news is Yehovah reigns. Yehovah reigns. That's the good news. You can join his kingdom, men. Become his sons. When you become his sons, your women become their daughters or his daughters. That's the good news. So there we are, second month, 17th day that the flood comes. Now we have Sodom. Have a Passover. The next day, they're leaving town. The town's going to be destroyed. Then we were talking about Egypt when we left, right after Passover, the day after Passover, wasn't it? 430 years to the day. 400 years after Isaac was born, to the day. Egypt's going to be destroyed. Within days, they're going to be drowned in the sea, including the Pharaoh. What's the next time? We're crossing the Jordan, coming into the promised land. We circumcise all our men, have a real Passover, slaughter our goats, slaughter our sheep, and then for 7 days we walk around that city. 7th day we shout and the walls come tumbling down. And that is the beginning of the end for Canaan. Just like a Passover is going to be the beginning of the end for this world as we know it. Because the two witnesses are going to see who is keeping the Passover and who isn't. These are men. I'd like to be one of the two witnesses. Wouldn't that be cool? I'd be happy, delighted to be one of the set-apart men. Pillar of fire over my head. People coming to me to learn righteousness, get protection, be fed. But wouldn't it be cool to be one of the two witnesses? Is there going to be two witnesses? You know, that's a New Testament idea. But Yehovah needs two witnesses to testify against the world, doesn't he? Ooh, so much to see, so much to learn. Verse 4. Now before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, talking about the men of the city, the men of Sodom, this is the Enoshim of the city. The men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people of every quarter. People, we're talking about men people, not lady people. Men, Enoshim, Enoshim. It's telling you right there. Surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, Where are the Enoshim who came to you tonight? Doesn't call them angels. Calls them Enoshim. They're Enoshim. Bring them out that we may know them. They say carnally. Okay, that's okay. It's clarifying it. Just says know them. So Lot went out to them through the doorway, shut the door behind them, him, and said, Please, my sisterin, oh no, my brotherin, these are men, aren't they? Do not do so wickedly. Remember, it's always about men keeping the commandments of Yehovah, not the ladies. See, now I have 2 daughters. Oh, listen to this. Well, first, let's do this brethren part. I think I had some notes on that. Oh, these are men. Okay, there are no ladies out tonight. Right, they went back to their tents. They had a rough day today. They got taken by all the men of the city, even the daughters. No, they're staying home. See, now I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof. Oh, my goodness, what a choice he's got to make. This is a father. He's already lost 1 daughter to the men of these cities. He's given daughters, at least 2, to the men of the cities. No, at least 3 to the men of the cities. Because Peltieth, remember, she was married to another man when she was sneaking him food. See, now I have 2 daughters. Can you imagine? Do to them as you wish. Which is less wicked? To take the men or to give his daughters? He's giving his daughters. Can a man give his daughters? He's doing it to save the men from doing the wickedness. What did he say? Please, my brother, do not do so wickedly. We saw in Yasher, these men were taking other men's women, daughters, all day long. Now they're moving up, aren't they? Or maybe moving down. He says, since this is the reason they have come under my roof. What did he mean by that? Did he mean they're safe from what the men of the city would do to keep them safe? I think that's probably what we're talking about. But can you imagine? Here he's willing to sacrifice his daughters to preserve these men. Do you think he might know these men? Do you think he's going to do this for just anybody? Come on. No, there's more here to who these men are. It's got to be Shem and Eber. It's just got to be. You're not going to sacrifice your daughters for just any man that passes through this city. No, there's more to see here. Well, doesn't have to do that, does he? Look what happens. And they said, stand back. This is the angels. No, this is the wicked guys of the city that are speaking. And they said, stand back. Then he said, this one came to stay here, and he keeps on acting as a judge. Oh, I think there's actually a better translation of that. Then he said the same thing to, they said the same thing to Eliezer. He keeps acting as a judge. Here's what it actually says. And they said, stand back. Then they said, this one came in to stay here, and he is judging as a judge. Uses the same word twice, shafat. He is judging as a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. So they pressed hard against the man Lot and came near to break down the door. Remember, we talked about this. I guess I'm doing a review in the sense of last week. This is just so important that we see this. What did he say? They hate the one who rebukes at the gate. Yeah, that's what he was doing, wasn't he? He was rebuking at the gate. He sits in the gate of the city. Remember, the Elohim sit in the gate of the city. I think I even have. Yeah, let me show you that. They hate the one who rebukes in the gate, and they abhor the one who speaks uprightly. Let me show you something. I put this together this week, actually just for you. I want to go to Elohim. Elohim, lawmakers and judges. Is this the one? Yeah. Here. These 2 verses are good verses. If the thief is not found, then the master, the Baal of the house, shall be brought to the Elohim. The Elohim. Ha Elohim. Isn't that interesting? Ha Elohim. To see whether he has put his hand in his neighbor's goods. What are we talking about? We're talking about the Elohim of the city. Here's another one. This is Deuteronomy 10:17. For Yehovah, your Elohim, is Elohim. He is Elohim. The Elohim. Oh, he is Elohim. I gotta have that. I forgot the of. Of. The Elohim. Hear that? Yehovah, your Elohim, is Elohim of the Elohim. Oh, isn't that amazing? Do you hear what I'm saying? I keep trying to tell you, lawmakers and judges are the Elohim of the land. Yehovah, contrary to what they understand. That's why he says, you rulers of Sodom, you princes of Gomorrah, repent. For Yehovah, your Elohim, is Elohim of the Elohim, and Master Adonai of, I guess I gotta have my of there too, I forgot it, of the masters, the Adonim. There it is, Adonim. That's how you write Adonim in the plural. This happens to say Ha Adonim. There it is right there. Ha Adonim. Ha Adonim. The masters. He's the master of the masters. He's master of masters. And the El. Still talking about Yehovah. He's the El. The El. Of all the El. He's the El. The great. Ha Gadol. The mighty. Ha Gevor. The terrible. I forgot what that one was. Yareh. Ha Yareh. Who shows no partiality nor takes bribes. Yes, we saw in Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, not so much in Zoar, that the judges were corrupt. Of course they're taking bribes. You think when Hadad came to talk to them about the coat of many colors, the colorful cloak, that judge was going to get a part of that? Of course he was. Elohim, lawmakers and judges. We are serving other Elohim besides Yehovah. What did he say? Thou shalt have no other Elohim but me. Let me go back. He keeps acting as a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. Coming after Lot now. So they pressed hard against the man, Lot, and came near to break down the door. But the men, this is the messengers, reached out their hand and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck the men of the city, who were in the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, young, old, powerful, weak, as far as leading men, so that they became weary trying to find the door. Wonder how long they were blind that night, till they sobered up maybe? Or were they still blind when the first stone was thrown by the witnesses? The brimstone. Yeah, we're throwing brimstone today. Well, listen to what happens. Remember, it's the witnesses who throw the first stone, isn't it? But the witnesses are who? Shem and Eber. They're the shalak of Yehovah. If they throw it, Yehovah throws it. If Yehovah throws it, they throw it. You see what's going on here? That's what a shalak is. They're so tightly intertwined. one acts on behalf of the other. And the men said to Lot, have thou anyone here, son-in-law, thy sons, thy daughters, thy banim, thy banot, and whoever thou have in the city, take them out of this place. You know what? I think Lot went out with his 2 daughters, his woman, and servants. Servants are never mentioned, but I think the servants came out with him. That's my guess. Now, we could make an argument that they didn't based on one verse in Torah, but the next verse is going to throw it off altogether again. We'll find it here in just a moment. All of Lot's family could have been saved. Remember, he went to his son-in-laws. They didn't want to leave. I guess we'll see that here in just a second. Thought it was a joke. His son-in-laws, his sons, Banim, his daughters, Banot, and all thou hast in the city is what it says. All thou hast in the city. Do you think he brought some of his gold and his silver out of the city? I would say he did. I think he had time to do that. We're going to see he brought wine. Where did it come from? For we will destroy this place. Who's going to destroy it? The witnesses. They throw the first stone, isn't it? For we will destroy this place because the outcry against them has grown great before the face, the panim of Yehovah. And Yehovah has shalaked us to destroy it. Sent us. He shall send us to destroy it. This is the word sent, shalak. Shalak, there it is right here. Shalak. Shalak. Here it is. This is shalak right there, those 3 letters. The prefix says, and he shall send, that's the shalak, and then the noon and the vav at the end says us. Shall send us. He, Yehovah, shall send us to destroy it, is what it says. They are Yehovah's shalakim. Remember, the shalakim, what he does, or what they do, is as if Yehovah did it, and vice versa. Yehovah is looking for shalakim right now. Men, would you like to be one of the great ones in Yehovah's kingdom? Remember, he says, when Yehovah brings back Zion, I think that's Isaiah 52 verse 8 maybe. When Yehovah brings back Zion, maybe it's a little bit later, a couple verses, his watchmen shall see eye to eye. We're all going to know the same things. He's going to download us with information that will help us to serve him better, to be his shalak. Talking about being led by his spirit. Oh my goodness, can you be led by his spirit any more than being his shalak? Remember, Joshua said, sun, stand still! Moon, stand still until my enemies are destroyed! Yehovah didn't tell him to say that, because he was the shalak, he was the sent one, sent to lead his people. That's what each one of these 144,000-ish servants of Yehovah are going to do in the last days in each one of their set-apart locations. They're going to open their mouth. Their lips shall slay the wicked, it says. I think this is part of the reason why Moses was told to speak to the rock the second time instead of hitting the rock with the rod of Elohim. Oh, there's so much that you need to understand what that rod did. We don't have enough rods to go around. Shem's got the rod right now. We don't know it, but Shem's got it. I put, even now Yehovah's looking for sent ones to carry out his work on the earth. Yehovah uses men and will use them to bring forth his destruction. He will. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses. Say to Aaron, stretch out your hand with your rod. There's the rod that Moses was using. Over the stream, over the rivers, over the ponds, and cause frogs to come out of the land of Egypt. So Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt. And the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. We're going to see this happen in the last days. 14. So Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws who had married his daughters. Well, that's kind of redundant, isn't it? For Yehovah, get up, get out of this place, he said, for Yehovah will destroy the city. But to his son-in-laws, he seemed to be joking. Well, snooze you lose, guys. When the morning dawned, the messengers urged Lot to hurry, saying, arise, take your woman, take thy woman, thy 2 daughters who are here, lest thou be consumed in the punishment of the city. Listen, lest thou be consumed. It doesn't say lest they be consumed. Lest thou be consumed in the punishment of the city. They are being kept safe. Why? Because Lot's being kept safe. This is exactly what happened with Noah, isn't it? This is what's going to happen in the last days. There's a reason 7 women are going to take hold of one man and say, we will provide our own food. We will provide our own clothing. Only let us be called by your name to take away our reproach. What's their reproach? They don't have a man in their life, and now they realize they need one. Well, he didn't move right away. Look what it says. And while he was lingering, the men took hold of his hand, his woman's hand, and the hand of his 2 daughters. And Yehovah being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. They weren't moving. Listen, we're serious. You got to get out of here. They actually have to pretty much drag him out, don't they? So it came to pass, when they had brought them outside, that he said, escape for your life. Run for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed. If you remind me, I'll give you this link. This is, and a copy. This is, oh, I guess I opened it anyway. This is Sodom and Gomorrah. This is written by, or done by, Ron Wyatt. There it is right there, Ron Wyatt. This is Ron Wyatt's work. But a very interesting video. I'd encourage you to watch it. Let me grab it here, a copy. I'm going to give it to you right now so I don't forget. Run for your life. Escape to the plains. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed. Then Lot said to them, please. Look at, they said lords again. It's Adonai. It's one. Adonai. Then Lot said to them, please, no, Adonai. Who's he talking to? I think he's talking to Shem. Not talking to the other guy. Talking to the leader. You know, Yehovah seems to send out his men in teams. Yeah, I guess that's not always the case. He didn't send out Jacob when he went to Haran. But does he send out his men in teams? I can see a lot of places where he does. Set them out in pairs. 2 witnesses. There's safety in multiple men. It is. It's Adonai, my master. Again, I don't like that Lord business. Let's stay away from that. Indeed, now thy servant has found favor in thy sight, and thou have increased thy mercy, which thou have shown me by saving my life. Didn't say our life, he said my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains lest some evil overtake me and I die. He's concerned about going to the mountains. Well, look what happens. It says, what do I do here? See now, this city is near enough to flee to. Talking about Zor. And it is a little one. That's why it's called Zor, a city. A little one. Please let me escape there. It is not. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. Zor, a.k.a. Bela, that's what it was called before it was called Zor, is going to be one of the 5 cities that's going to be destroyed. But it looks to me like Lot, because of this request, saved that city. Let's see what happens. And he said to him, see, I have favored thee concerning this thing also, in that I will not overthrow this city for which thou have spoken. I put it in this color because it's kind of like Yehovah speaking, but it's the Shalach that's speaking, isn't it? See, I have favored thee, Abraham, concerning this thing in which thou, in that I will not overthrow the city. He's getting ready to overthrow all the cities, but he's not going to overthrow that city because of what Lot said. Hurry! Escape there! For I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore the name of the city was called Zor. Is that when Zor got its new name, possibly? Zor was named Bela. Remember, Bela was the founder of this particular city. He was a Shemite. Came from Asher. Remember, Asher was the second born of Shem. That's why he's a Shemite. And called Zor because of its size. Smallness. There it is right there. This is the Smith's Dictionary. Zor, smallness. One of the most ancient cities in the land of Canaan. Its original name was Bela. Yeah, Bela was the one who founded it. I put 2 L's instead of 1 L. I guess I spelled it wrong. Let me fix that. Okay. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zor. So he sounds like he's moving in the middle of the night, doesn't he? Then Yehovah rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yehovah out of heavens. Isn't that strange? Then Yehovah rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yehovah out of heaven, out of the heavens. Out of the heavens. What are the heavens? Heavens are where the birds fly. Coming from that direction, I guess. Oh, yeah. Remember, who throws the first stone? The witnesses throw the first stone. He sent us to destroy the city. How did they destroy it? They threw the first stones. they're acting as the Shalakim, his sent ones. What they do, he does. What he does, they do. It takes some tweaking of our brain to understand what's going on here. Look what Peter says. And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them to destruction, making them an example to those who afterwards would live ungodly. And he delivered righteous Lot, who was oppressed by the filthy conduct of the wicked. Remember, they killed his daughter even. For that righteous man dwelt among them, tormented his righteous soul from day to day by seeing and hearing their lawless deeds. He says, remember even Lot, this is my words, remember even Lot's daughter was burned at the stake, burned by fire, for giving food and water to the man in need in Yasher 19. I want you to read that for just a moment. At that time, Lot's woman bore him a daughter, and he called her name Peltith, saying, because Elohim had delivered him and his whole household from the kings of Elam. And Peltith, Lot's daughter, grew up, and one of the men of Sodom took her for a woman. And a poor man came to the city to seek maintenance. And he remained in the city some days, and all the people of Sodom caused a proclamation of their custom not to give the man a morsel of bread to eat until he dropped dead upon the earth. And they did so. Well, Peltith fed him secretly until she was caught. Here it is. I guess I read part of this to you already today. And they took Peltith and brought her before the judges. And they said to them, thus did she do. And it is she who supplied the poor man with bread. Therefore did he not die Therefore he did not die all this time. Now therefore declare to us the punishment due this woman for having transgressed our law. They're the Elohim of the city, the lawmakers, the judges. And the people of Sodom and Gomorrah assembled and kindled a fire in the streets of the city, and they took the woman, cast her into the fire, and she was burned to ashes. Now look what it says in Isaiah. Unless Yehovah of hosts had left us a very small remnant, we would have become like Sodom. We would have become like Gomorrah. This is for us right now. I am here, and Yehovah is not going to destroy it. I'll have to take that out. I'm here in my city. Yehovah's not going to destroy this city. Well, I'm in it, because he will not destroy the wicked with the righteous. It is the righteous who are among us right now who are keeping the unrighteous safe from Yehovah. Oh my goodness. Think about Egypt. We had Egypt and we had Goshen. Darkness and light. Wickedness, righteousness. As they started to see the light. Didn't see it right away. They both got the same plagues for the first 3 days, or the first 3 times. But after that, they got smart. And they changed some of their ways. This is what's happening right now. People like me are amongst the wicked. We're keeping them safe. But the day's coming when Yehovah is going to raise up people like me. Father, please let it be me too. And when he does, he's going to lead us out of these cities. When that happens, all the people who want to learn righteousness, to follow Yehovah, are going to come to people like me. And when they do, we're going to have a separation from the light and the darkness once again, the evil and the wicked, the clean and the unclean, the sweet and the bitter. It's going to happen again. And when it does, you know the end is near. This is why when it happens, their first message, the messengers, not the angels, the messengers, first messages is what? Fear Elohim and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him, not Yeshua, not the powers of this world. Don't trust in them. Worship Yehovah, the creator of all things. So we overthrew those cities of the plain, all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground destroyed everything. Shadow picture of the end. But his woman looked back behind him. His woman, what was she supposed to do? Follow her man. That's what she's supposed to do. But she looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Here's what Yasher says. And he overthrew these cities, all the plains, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. And Ado, the woman of Lot, looked back to see the destruction of the cities, for her compassion was moved on account of her daughters who remained in Sodom, for they did not go with her. No, they stayed with their husbands. Here's Hebrews. This is about turning back. She looked back. That's what we did in the wilderness, isn't it? We remembered what was going on in the wilderness. I like this. Again, it's New Testament, but there's truth in the New Testament. Listen what it says. For you have need of endurance, so that after you have done the will of Elohim, ladies, the will of Elohim for you is different from the will of Elohim for your husbands, for your man. You may receive the promise. For yet a little while, and he who is coming will come. He will not tarry, okay? We're not talking about Yeshua coming back. We're talking about Yehovah coming back. He's the one that's coming back. Now the just shall live by faith. But if anyone draws back, my soul will have no pleasure in him. But we are not of those who draw back to perdition. We don't look back. But those who believe to the saving of the soul. The nefesh. Here's again in Hebrews. And truly, if they had called to mind the country from which they came out, they would have had opportunity to return. They came out of the country. Not going to go back. I came out in 1999, and I ain't never going back because I am in a better country now. But now they desire a better. That is a heavenly country. Therefore Elohim is not ashamed to be called their Elohim, for he has prepared a city for them, Zion. Remember, we're talking about Yahu Shalam, the holy city. The biggest problem we had in the wilderness is that we kept looking back at what we had in Egypt. Look what it says. This is Numbers 11. Now the mixed multitude who are among them, mixed multitude. This is not Israel's seed. This is not what we call the children of Israel pervertedly. It says the mixed multitude who are among them, that's Israel's seed, yielded to intense cravings. So Israel's seed also wept again and said, who will give us meat to eat? Oh, they complained to Israel's seed, and Israel's seed is complaining to Moses. And if you complain to Moses, who are you complaining to? The Creator, He's the Shalach. That's right. We remember the fish which we ate freely in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, the garlic. But now our whole being is dried up. There is nothing at all except this manna before our eyes. They're being fed miraculously in the wilderness, and they're complaining about the food. Oh my goodness. Such men of little vision. So little comprehension, so little understanding, and no wisdom whatsoever. It's the flesh that's causing them to do it. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before Yehovah. So now we're switching to Abraham momentarily. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward the land of the plain, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land which went up like the smoke of a furnace. Look at what it was. Sodom and Gomorrah was a beautiful place. The valley was amazing. So Sodom and Gomorrah was described as a garden before this happened. Look what it says, Genesis 13:10. And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw all the plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yehovah destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like a garden of Yehovah, like the land of Egypt as you go down toward Zoar. Zoar, beautiful place in Egypt, well watered. It was like that. But now, look what we're going to see in the last days. When the messengers are raised up, look what it says. This is Joel 2, third verse of Joel 2. A fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is like a garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Surely nothing shall escape them. What did he say? He destroyed even not only where did it say that? It said he destroyed the all that grew on the ground. He overthrew those cities, all the plain, all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground, everything. Nothing will escape them, it says. And it came to pass, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abram and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. Do you think maybe the petition that Abram made to Shem made a difference in Lot escaping? I would tend to think not, only because I know Yehovah is not going to destroy the righteous with the wicked. He won't do it. He says the righteous will remain on the earth and that the wicked are going to be taken from the earth. He says it many times like that. But yet, here it says, God remembered Abraham, or Elohim remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow. I don't know. 30. Then Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains. I thought he was going to Zoar. And the two daughters were with him, or his two daughters were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his two daughters dwelt in a cave. Oh, this is really interesting. He went to Zoar. Let me flee to the little city. I don't want to go to the cave. Went to Zoar. But look what it says. He was afraid to dwell in Zoar. Why was he afraid to dwell in Zoar? We got to ask the question.
Things happening there as elsewhere.
I don't think so, Carrie. Carrie says the same thing was happening there as was happening elsewhere. No, I don't think so. They preserved that city. Look at, this is what Maya would suggest. Was it because he was the only survivor? Remember, he's one of the men who they talked about as judging, the judge who judges us. Sitting in the gate of the city. The righteous man is not loved in the gates of the city. Shines the light on the wicked, doesn't he? Did they blame him for what happened? Remember, they know that his daughter was recently killed. Did they blame him possibly for bringing this destruction on that city and on all the cities in that area, the 4 other cities? I wonder. They had to know that his daughter was burned alive. Yeah, everybody knew that. I mean, everybody knows Lot. Remember, when they were taken by the people who came down from the north, Abraham saved them because he saved Lot. Everybody knows Lot. Do we forget? I think we do. And Zoar was kept safe only because of Lot. They would have been destroyed if it wasn't for Lot. You know what? Maybe they were destroyed when Lot left. Could that be? They wanted him to flee to the mountains. When you go to that video, here, let me show you something. I was just thinking about something that I saw yesterday on this website that I was just showing you about. Oh, did I close it? Maybe I closed it already. No, I don't think I did. Here it is here. There it is. There's the Dead Sea. Zeboim is the one farthest north. Then Admah. Admah is about the same distance north and south to Jerusalem. So if you go directly east, you're going to hit Jerusalem from this point, the top of the Dead Sea. Gomorrah is the bottom, or Gomorrah is towards the bottom. Sodom and Zoar are closer together. Do you see where they're at? Yeah, Carrie says he can't. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you.
One side way down at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, see that down there? There's Zoar, or there's Sodom. This is the Dead Sea. So the Dead Sea doesn't stop here. It's actually going all the way down to the bottom. And Zoar is the one that's further south. Now, on my maps, I put Zoar in this location. I'm going to have to move it because it looks to me like if this is Zoar, that Zoar did not make it. And it could be that after Abraham left, after Lot left, that Zoar was destroyed. Could be. Don't know that for sure. That's this man's map. But is there 2 cities there, or is it 1 city? Just one big city, perhaps. And Zoar is further south. I don't know that for sure. But let's continue because we're talking about going to the cave. He was afraid to dwell in Zoar. Why was he afraid? We have to ask ourselves, why was he afraid to dwell in Zoar? They said he could go to Zoar. But apparently he wasn't received well in Zoar. That's my guess. Well, so where'd he go? In this verse, 1930, it says, he and his 2 daughters dwelt in a cave. Dwelt in a cave. Yasher gives us some additional light on this subject. Look what it says here. And Lot and his 2 daughters that remained with him escaped to the cave of Adullam And they remained there for some time. The cave of Adullam. Does that ring a bell? It did for me. Here's the cave of Adullam. Thought you might like to see it. Here we are. The cave of Adullam. Pretty interesting. It's actually quite expansive, this particular cave. And this cave was big enough to hold almost 200, I think it was 200, of David's men in it. The cave of Adullam. Look what it says here. David therefore departed from there and escaped to the cave of Adullam. So when his brothers, all his father's house, heard it, they went down there to him, and everyone who was in distress. Think about this as people who are coming to us in the last days, coming to the pillar of fire and smoke. Remember, David is a shadow picture of the 144,000. The servants of Elohim, the ones who have a heart. Remember, Yehovah doesn't judge by sight. He judges by the heart. These are men who are 100% Yehovah's like David. So when his brothers and all his father's house heard it, they went down to him. Who went down? And everyone who was in distress, everyone who was in debt, everyone who was discontent concerning him, or gathered to him. The ones in debt, the ones who are discontent with the world that we live in right now. Remember, it's hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. When the 144,000 are raised up, the rich men probably aren't going to come to us because they can't take their belongings with us, can't take their car, can't take their house, can't take their boat. Hard for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven. But the ones in debt, the one who are discontented, they came to him, didn't they? So he became captain over them. And there were about 400 men with him. Did they come with their families? Of course they came with their families. The cave of Adullam. Now the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come into us, as is the custom of all the earth. How are we going to make babies? There's no man left, is what it looks like they're saying. Does that make sense? I thought I had a note in here. Maybe I put it in the wrong place. Oh no, there it is right there. Okay. No man on the earth. Why did they think that? They had just left Zor. Shem and Eber are still alive. They're men. Did they think that Abraham and all who were with him were killed? Here's what I think. Could they be in shock? I think they must have had servants with them. I put, who carried the wine when they left the city? How'd they get the wine? You see, there's more going on here. Lot is going to move over to the other side of the Jordan. Right now he's on the west side of the Jordan, but he's going to move over to the east side of the Jordan, the east side of the Dead Sea. That's where Moab and Ammon is going to be located. So to think that there's no men doesn't cut it with me. I think there were servants. Maybe they did too good for the servants, perhaps. They wanted to have their dad. What's going on? Okay, we don't know. From this verse, it's hard to tell. Now the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come to us. Does that make sense to you? Doesn't make sense to me. especially in light of what they said now. Because now it's kind of like they're changing their tune. It says, come, let us make our father drink wine. Again, where did the wine come from? They're in the cave of Adullam. They just left their house. Yeah, I think they came with some of the things from the house. The servants carried it. We will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. Well, now that's a different idea, isn't it? Because that would have nothing to do, preserving the lineage of their father, with other men, would it? No. Something's going on here that doesn't quite cut it. Or was their goal? So that there where they said it was the first verse 1931 was talking about there is no man on the earth to come into us, as is the custom of the earth. And then I put, or was their goal to raise up seed from their dad in order to preserve his seed on the earth? Remember, Lot's about 92 years old right now. I don't know how old his daughters are, but he's 92. If Abram is 99, he's 92, going on 93. Well, remember I said last week, I couldn't find a verse in the Torah that talked about a father sleeping with his daughter. It very carefully spells out a father sleeping with his son's daughter, or his daughter's daughter, or his wife's daughter, or there's a whole bunch of different things. But I couldn't find anything in particular that talked about a man sleeping with his daughter. And I thought, what's up with that? But I did find this week, and I would think this is appropriate. None of you shall approach anyone who is near of kin to uncover his nakedness. I am Yehovah. I think near of kin. How can you have anything more near of kin than your own daughter? I put the daughter is the nearest of kin. But Torah does not list this specific prohibition as it does the rest. I would fit the daughter into this verse. Now, this verse actually goes on in verse 7 to talk about, I think, your woman's daughter. In other words, if she had a daughter that came to her, you're not to take her daughter. But you could also go to the point of a man shall not take a woman and her daughter. Because your woman and your daughter would be the same person. Well, I guess the woman could come in with her daughter. I think that's what the verse is talking about. But as far as nearest kin, uncovering the near of kin, the daughter absolutely has to fit into this particular verse. So I thought about this a lot last week after what I said last week. Okay, anyway, I wanted to clarify that. Let's continue. So they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went and lay with her father. And he did not know when she lay down or when she rose. Man, you got to be plastered to not know that. And it happened on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, indeed, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. Again, they're talking about preserving the lineage of their father. Is that what they're really interested in? I don't know. The lineage of our father. Let's finish the rest of this. Then they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him. And he did not know when she lay down and when she rose. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. Now, I thought this was really interesting. I hope you appreciate this as well. It says, the very next verse, 37. The firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is this is what my New King James says. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. Okay, let's look at this carefully. When you look at the word Moab, okay, it is spelled Mem, Vav, Aleph, Bet. The Aleph Bet says Ab, Av, Av, like Avi, my father. Av is father. The Mem right here says from father. I don't know how the Vav works in this particular case, but we're talking about from father, preserving the seed of our father. Moab is from father. Isn't that interesting? I never saw that until I saw it in the Hebrew. And then it goes on, it says the same is Moab's father to this day. The same is Moab's father. So when we talk about Ben-Ami, this is what his name is. No, I'm sorry, Moab's father. Avi, it uses this word. Avi, here's how it writes it. Avi, Moab. 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 Avi, Moab. This is kind of like B'nai Israel. B'nai, B'nai B'nai Israel has a proper noun after it. It would normally say Avi, my father. In this case, it says Moab's father, just like it says Israel's seed. So when this Vav is used two different ways. One to say my, but also to show possession. When it is followed by a proper noun, in this case Moab, and in B'nai Israel, Israel, followed the proper noun, it becomes the property. Moab's father is actually what it's saying. Israel's seed. Do you follow what I'm saying? Really interesting to see how these fit together. So we're talking about the same is Moab's father to this day. So all of Moab's people, men, have him as their father. Lot is the father. You follow what I'm saying? Okay, then the next one is just as interesting. It's Ben-Ami. And the younger, she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami. He is, this is what it says in the New King James, the father of the people of Ammon to this day. Well, let's look at it literally. Ben-Ami. Ben-Ami. Ben is son. Is people. And the yod that follows that is my people. Son of my people. Her father is her people. He is the son of her people. You see how it fits together? Son of my people. My people's son. Well, obviously, this is not what Yehovah had in mind. These two sons we're going to see, Ben-Ami and Moab, are going to take wives, women, from the daughters of Canaan to start their families. We're going to see, I don't know if we're going to see it today, 1252. Let's try and get through it real fast. I want to go to Yasher. I'd really like to finish this subject today if we can. There's not that much here in Yasher. This is where we left off, the angels coming into the city. And Yehovah sent two angels, two messengers, that had come to Abram's house to destroy Sodom and its cities. And the messengers rose up from the door of Abram's tent after they had eaten and drunk. And they reached Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when he saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed down to the ground. Do you see what's going on here? Does he do that for everybody? And he pressed them greatly and brought them into his house. And he gave them victuals that they ate, and they abode all night in his house. And the angels, the messengers, said to Lot, Arise, go from this place, thou and all belonging to thee. There's so much that is left out. We don't see the discourse between Shem and Abram. If there's 50, will you say 50? If there's 40, 10, 30, go on and down. There wasn't the discourse between what happened in the city with the guys trying to take the angels. It skipped. And the messengers said to Lot, Arise, go forth from this place, thou and all belonging to thee. All belonging to thee. Take everything, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of this city, for Yehovah will destroy this place. Take everything you can carry. That's why I say he had servants that was carrying things. And the messengers laid hold upon the hand of Lot, and upon the hand of his woman, and upon the hand of his children, and all belonging to him. There it is, all belonging to him. And they brought him forth and set him without the cities. And they said to Lot, Escape for your life. And he fled, and all belonging to him. And did the servants belong to him?
No.
Yeah, I think they did. How about his gold and his silver? Did that belong to him? Did he take some of that? And Yehovah rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah and upon these cities brimstone and fire from Yehovah out of heaven. And he overthrew these cities, all the plains, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. And Otto, the woman of Lot, looked back to see the destruction of the cities. For her compassion was moved on account of her daughters who remained in Sodom, for they did not go with her. And when she looked back, she became a pillar of salt. And it is yet in that place to this day. And the oxen which stood in the place daily licked up the salt of the extremities of their feet. And in the morning it would spring forth afresh, and they would again lick it up unto this day. And Lot and his 2 daughters that remained with him fled and escaped to the cave of Adullam. And they remained there for some time. And Abram arose early in the morning to see what had what had been done to the cities of Sodom. And he looked, and behold, the smoke of the city going up like the smoke of a furnace. And Lot and his 2 daughters remained in the cave. And they made their father drink wine, and they lay with him, for they said there was no man on the earth that could raise up seed from them, for they thought the whole earth was destroyed. So there again, we're seeing that they thought the whole earth was destroyed. Does that make sense? They fled to Zor, for heaven's sakes. They were afraid to stay in Zor. They had servants. Could they have mated with the servants? How about Abram's men? How about Shem and Eber? They weren't killed.
Yeah, but they weren't there at that time, were they?
Well, yeah, but they knew they weren't killed. For heaven's sakes, they got them out of the city. They both lay with their father, and they conceived and bare sons. And the firstborn called the name of her son Moab. There it is, from father. Saying, my father. There it is, my father. From my father. Yeah, that's the same word, from. The mem says from. From of. From my father did I conceive him. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger also called her son Ben-Ami. He is the father of Ammon's seed. The father of Ammon's seed unto this day. Son of my people is what it means. And every time now I see Moab and Ammon, I'm always going to remember what those words mean and where they come from. I find it so interesting. And after this, Lot and his 2 daughters went away from there, and he dwelt on the other side of the Jordan. So they're moving to the other side of the Jordan. What did they use to get started with? The money that they carried out of Sodom and Gomorrah, the servants that they started with, of course. And he dwelt in the other side of the Jordan with his 2 daughters and their sons. And the sons of Lot grew up, and they went and took themselves women from the land of Canaan. And they begat sons, and they were fruitful and multiplied. Fruitful and multiplied? We're talking about Lot, the sons of Lot. Fruitful and multiplied. Fruitful would indicate that we're going to follow righteousness. Did they follow righteousness? For heaven's sakes, they took the daughters of Canaan for women. Does that even make sense? I don't know. And they were fruitful and multiplied, it said. Well, we're going to stop here. I've got 12:58. So I wanted to get through all this today. We did get through it, and I'm very pleased to do that. Hey, everybody who is joining us online, thank you very much for listening to this video. Please, if you would, subscribe. You might have to become a member of YouTube first in order to subscribe. But if you subscribe, you'll get notification each time I put up a new video each week. Will you do that? Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you again soon. Bye now.